All right, guys. Well, we are back. Today I'm joined with our FDE team and Jacob and my unmuted laptop that is now muted.
Mac users be like,
hey, listen, new Mac users be like, what does this button do?
You're still trying to figure it out.
But we are back with this will be our enterprise version of Spotify, our version of Spotify Wrapped. And I'm here with our FDEs and Jacob. I wanted to just start us off by letting you guys introduce yourselves, give everybody some background on where you came from and how you got here and what you're working on at Collide. Who wants to go first?
My name is Michael Cortez. I'm a forward deployed engineer here at Collide. Just started here in September. My background is completions. I started with Halliburton, spent 5 years with them.
He's Texas.
Yeah, baby. Kilgore, Texas. Moved around quite a bit. Got picked up by Petrohawk and spent most of my completion days with BHP Billiton. And then the past 4.5 years, I was with Corva AI. I was working in their Dev Center product line there and support team.
That's awesome. You made a huge move across the parking lot.
I did, yeah.
Dramatically changed your commute.
Just walked on over. And
that would be a really funny video of you just like walking across the street with all your stuff.
It doesn't always happen that way.
Yeah.
Yeah, you really lucked out, man. Yeah, I mean, I went from Chevron to here, which, you know, like me commuting from College Station, going from College Station to downtown Houston to City Center that's a game changer.
Yeah.
So,
Heck yeah.
Yeah, so Nick Smart, I'm one of the other FDEs. I started back in May as a customer success manager, and being in a startup, roles are constantly changing and evolving. So recently, new addition to the FDE team. Background in geophysics, graduated from A&M back in 2018. Worked as a field geophysicist for a few years. Made the jump over to Chevron. I took a bunch of courses, decided I didn't want to be in the field as like a glorified field mule, basically. Needed to get out of there, and worked at Chevron for the past 5 years, building out mobile applications, big focus on Esri products. Did a stint in our VR group, did some stuff with our connected worker group, and then wound up here in May and have been absolutely loving it.
That's awesome. I'm very excited to have you guys on board and the extra hands and help and expertise that you guys bring. And so I think that's Colin's vision for this, for the company, for Collide as a whole, right? Is to have industry experience, FDEs paired with, the best of the best that we can get from the tech side of things. And so I'm super excited about having you guys on board, and just even the shift with the FDE piece. It's we're doing some really cool stuff. So
talking frac, huh? Yeah.
Oh yeah. Let's see. Let's introduce Collide Enterprise, because I think there is confusion between the community app and the enterprise app, or there can be. And so
how do we make money?
Yeah. So I want to make sure we cover that real quick before we get too deep into it. But coming from, people hear me talk all the time because I love to talk, but from y'all's perspective, what is Collide Enterprise? How do you see it, today, and what kind of benefits does that bring to, our clientele?
So, for me, whenever I was hired on, we were still in the infancy of the product. So it's been exceptionally cool to see the way that we've been able to expand and really mature even in the past 6 months. So whenever I was brought on board, I sat down with you and Todd and Colin, and we talked about how beneficial search can be. We talked about the intricacies of RAG and doing RAG properly, how much of a step that is over like traditional, like, oh, I'll just upload my files into SharePoint and use Copilot to retrieve them. Like there's a big difference between performance in those two. But what we've seen is people love the ability to search their documents, but there was even more desire for like, what type of automations and workflows can we leverage using AI as that backbone? So being able to see that product evolution for me has been incredibly cool. And I'm sure Michael can give some specific examples for what he's seen. But we've gotten so much positive feedback, whether it's the regulatory filings for the W-10s and G-10s, whether it's being able to pull information out of like financial statements for some of our like financial workflows, the mapping capabilities, which I'll touch on later. Like there are so many cool things that can be built out now that we have like the core AI foundation like done properly.
Yeah. No, yeah, I agree with that. What's been cool for me is I feel like what we're doing with the enterprise is we're going out and showing customers that want to use AI, how to use AI. And it's really not that, it's not that difficult to find ways to automate, to save time, to save money, to be able to expand your business and not have to, get heavy on the personnel, go on a big hiring run. Also, doing a bunch of layoffs when everything's slowed down. But for me, yeah, the big thing was like, man, this is like a great way to automate, and all those pain points that I used to have working for an operator and even a service company side. Man, I love being able to go in and say, hey, let's automate this. Like, let's save your time, like work on the hard problems. And that's what I see us doing. We're freeing up time. And Colin says this all the time, like we're just freeing up time for engineers to do engineering work, not have to move data around or be a data plumber.
Yeah. Lots of data plumbing happening behind the scenes.
No, I think that's actually a really good point too, Michael. Like people 6 months ago when we would go pitch, they would see, okay, well, this is Copilot, or this is ChatGPT, or this is Grok. And as we start implementing better search than the out-of-the-box solutions on their data that isn't being uploaded and dropped into some black box that Sam Altman has infinite control and visibility over, like now that we're moving into the workflows part, the narrative is really beginning to assemble that, this industry is boom bust, peaks, troughs. And, when we're in a lull, oil's low or oil's negative. Hopefully it never happens ever again.
Dark times.
Yeah, shit, no kidding. There's layoffs, there's hiring freezes. We're trying to cut costs everywhere that they can, no bonuses, et cetera. Just like bad morale for the industry. And then when things are going great, like we let stuff slide. Things get sloppy. It's just kind of like blow and go as quickly as you can.
You just hire another person.
Straight up.
Instead of trying to optimize it. Right?
Yeah. Like let's just get butts and seats to do some like more manual processing. And what we see Collide doing already is helping to attenuate that peak and trough, where no longer are we having to think like, okay, well, sure, we can hire 20 people now, but we'll have to lay them off in the spring if Russia does something, right? So being able to attenuate that peak and trough within your own company, and being able to optimize hiring for like, who is the best person I can put in this seat, and I can pay them more and I can attract more talent because I'm not having to like outsource stuff to India. I'm not having to just like put a bunch of butts in seats. I can really go out and hire the best possible people. And I think that has been the narrative that resonates most with customers because they feel that right now.
Yeah. No, I think that's always been the most like intriguing promise to me as someone who's been laid off a million times. The scalability. Software has always promised this concept of like, oh, as things scale, it'll scale with you and all of this stuff. Well, now we can this kind of gives that promise around, certain things that people are responsible for. Right. And so it's like you take Keith, right? It's like Keith spends a lot of time doing regulatory filings for his company, and the number he has to do every month changes. And, so some months it's only a few hours, other months it could be days to weeks that he has to spend doing that. And so, but there's also a bunch of other stuff on his plate that he's responsible for. And so being able to just take away the things that are like essentially no value add to the company, but have to be done from people's plates also allows them to do the things that they enjoy doing a lot more instead of
the analogy I like to give to that is, like, life is busy. I hired a cleaning service for my house, and because I hired a cleaning service doesn't mean that like I'm trying to like replace my role as a husband in my family. Like, it's not like my wife is like, oh great, I can like outsource Nick. Awesome. Like I'm just trying to optimize time that I can spend at home and can spend with my wife, right? Like the more valuable things that I can be doing.
It's the same thing with me in the lawn.
Yeah,
right? It's like
straight up.
I had a lawn service in high school. I know how to cut a lawn. Do I have the time?
Yeah.
Like, is that beneficial to
Is
my
that time
family
best
unit?
spent for you?
Right.
Yeah,
No,
exactly.
I'd rather hang out with my kids. And so that's the most
Or
exciting
you could
part.
outsource it to your son, but is he going to do a great job? Probably not.
We'll give him a few more years until we do that. But yes, I will absolutely be outsourcing that at some point. Character building exercise.
Yeah, exactly.
Nick hit on something, talking about I call them over the counter, out of the box AI, Copilot, and some of the other ones that companies are using. I think it's awesome they're using them though. Like it's a great, entry into AI. But what we're finding and what we're seeing is like people just can't get all the way there because you have to be so accurate in our industry. You have to be so consistent and you have to have like a good source of truth and it has to be within your own database. So I love the fact that everyone's exploring it. They're starting to use it, but I love that we're able to take it, all the way to the finish line for people.
Yeah, no, I think it's fascinating how quickly the industry has like not necessarily fully adopted it yet, but they're doing more than just kicking the tires, right? Like we've got a lot of POCs and existing clients that, you wouldn't expect to be the first person to sign up for an AI pilot, right? But I think that's awesome. And I think there's this huge opportunity in the future that, you have these 150 person unicorns in the software world. Like there's going to be a less than 500, less than 100 person oil and gas company in the future that's publicly traded or worth billions of dollars because of things like this, which is really exciting. But I think the bigger thing for me is just like this vision that we've got of like Collide being that single source of truth layer kind of above all of your existing software and databases. So you don't have to have 30 tabs open. You don't have to go figure out which software the one specific data point that you're looking for exists in, or if it's in the middle of a contract and you can't find what page it is on that contract or whatever. I think that like kind of changing the way people think about how they do their jobs, especially layering the automation on top of that, is a really exciting piece to me because historically speaking, especially on the data side, like our biggest downfall has been these data silos, or just like, even if it's not intentional data silos, there are all of these data silos that exist within companies where it's like so-and-so in accounting needs to know the terms of this contract, but can't figure out which version of the contract is the updated one. And so being able to streamline just these menial day-to-day things right out of the gate with Surge and then layering the automation on top of that, I think we see a lot of really interesting things that happen from that. So I'm super excited about it.
It's the one labeled final.
Right. Yes.
It's always that
final _good_ for real.
I got a question. What do you guys think, like with what we're doing and where you're seeing things going? We're seeing all these acquisitions, the big operators, are just swallowing everyone else up. But are you seeing, and you mentioned it, like we're going to start to see publicly traded oil and gas companies with less than 100 employees. Do you guys think it will go where it's going to give a chance for small and mid-sized companies to actually go out and, grow? And are you going to see like less of the, huge big three or big five oil and gas companies where you're going to start to see more and more smaller companies because they can go out and manage more assets. They can go out and do more things?
You want to go first?
I mean, I think that's an entirely realistic situation. Yeah, like using the tools that we're creating properly, that is just like that's going to happen. It's not a question of like, oh, like could it? It absolutely will. And I can say that confidently, having seen the customers that have adopted Collide so far, and that are, I mean, I love the way that our POC model works, where we get in, we're able to put something together really quickly, get confirmation, boom, people start using it, and we even have customers that are acting as like affiliate marketers for our product inside of their company.
That's how you know it's a good product.
Yeah, I mean, it's like my Tesla, right? People experience FSD once and then they're like, holy shit, like I should go get a Tesla, and then it kind of goes and goes and goes. We get in, we get one POC, it's done, and we have like somebody else that comes in is like, oh, hey, I want to try this with accounting or with mapping, et cetera. There's so much energy and excitement around being able to automate so many different workflows. So for your question of like, could this help with these smaller companies that are trying to make more acquisitions? Absolutely. Like we're already seeing just like the small mustard seed of what that potential could look like. I mean, I think this time next year, we're going to have some pretty crazy like success stories to share in that regard. Yeah.
I agree. And your Tesla is awesome, by the way.
FSD is awesome.
As much as I'm a diesel driving guy, that Tesla is
sure would be nice to be driven to work every day.
It does not suck.
But no, I do agree with you. I think it's going to be interesting to see because, you know, the shiny, sexy thing is the unconventional side of the world, but there's still a very large portion of our oil and gas that come from conventional, you know, wells or stripper wells or small independents and stuff. And so, you know, for them, it's a cost game, right? Like, how can I get my costs, my lifting costs, my marginal costs as low as I possibly can? And so if you, you know, it's also interesting, in my opinion, to see like the size of the companies and the stage of those companies that we're working with. You have everything from like, we are funded and don't even have an asset yet, to we're looking for assets, to we have assets and we plan to double those over the next year or two. And so, but you know, it's not just the small mom and pops, it's all the way across. But for those smaller companies, right, like being able to do more with less, to double your, you know, well count without having to double your head count, that's a huge win for them, because, you know, you can't control oil price. So you can either get more oil or you can make it cheaper to get. And I think there's going to be a lot of really interesting things there. You know, especially there's so much sitting behind pipe these days and in conventional wells that you kind of throw those in as a combination. I think there's something interesting there. And then I think it's going to be fascinating to see what more traditional machine learning kind of tools spin out, you know, new exploration, new recovery techniques, all of this stuff. It's like, you know, we're only recovering 10% of the unconventionals. So there's still a lot of oil and gas left in the ground, whether that's refracs or what. But, you know, ultimately, I do think that AI and whatever flavor you're thinking about is going to assist in either new discoveries, increased efficiencies, finding new anomalies, or, you know, root causes of a lot of the things that we've been focused on for a long time. So it's definitely an exciting time.
I like what you said too, Michael, about, you know, what's unique about AI is if you compare AI and the excitement and the buzz around it, right? I was like ground floor VR at previous company, and it was like pulling teeth trying to get people to put on this VR device and like, oh, look, like you can do a walkthrough and train yourself up. Like we had people that would get like vertigo symptoms, would get nauseous instantly, et cetera. And that was for such a small, unique, like bespoke use cases. It didn't apply to everybody. And the democratization of that technology did not exist. Like you had to plop down $400 or $500 to get, you know, a MetaQuest 2 with the controllers and everything in order to experience it. And even if you did experience it, it was either like, oh yeah, this is cool, or I freaking hate this, like get this device off of me. People have already come into the conversation like, oh yeah, I have, you know, Grok help me with my sports betting, or like put together meal prep ideas. So people are already primed to understand what AI can do. We just help personalize it to help them understand, hey, like, you know how awesome that is to do that. Now imagine that with your data and taking it a step further and automating workflows. And people are like, holy shit, like that's crazy. I mean, there is so much more eagerness to test and start using these tools compared to VR. So I think that's a really important point to make. Like this is very different from like, oh, like you can VR meet your people, and you know, like no one wants to do VR. Like, no one wants to do VR.
It really didn't take off.
Yep. No, go ahead.
No, I was saying, you know, Nick mentioned, you know, spreadsheets. I was with a customer this week and they were in, you know, spreadsheet hell, man. I mean, the pain that they had, so many spreadsheets they're having to manage. They didn't have a database. And so those are the kind of customers I'm like, yes, you are like the perfect design partner, right? Like, let's automate all this and maybe let's put your data in a database too. But yeah, those situations there where they're just going from spreadsheet to spreadsheet to spreadsheet, man, we can really help those companies out. A lot of the times they're the small companies, which I really like helping out because they do more with less.
I mean, I think really in, you know, like the late 2010s, early 2020s, you know, digital transformation was the buzzword, right? Like,
Yeah,
oh, like digital transformation. Okay. Like what the hell?
And everyone
does
had a
that
green
mean?
belt.
Right. Yeah. Like, but no, I mean, so we're talking about, you know, like transforming old paper-based processes into like modern systems, et cetera. But I feel like the missing link was like, what's the end goal there. Like, okay, cool. What's a data lake? We need to describe that to leadership. And why is that important? Okay, cool. We have all of our data in a data lake. Do we just like throw data scientists at it and say like, okay, machine learning our shit? Right? Like that was a very, that was a very real like question of like, well, great, everything's in a data lake. Like, now what do we do with it?
Yeah.
Now it's done, right?
Yeah.
That was the transformation. It's in a data lake.
So we can just go to leadership and explain that we're saving $5 million because everything's in a data lake now, right? Like, that's not
your cost actually went up.
That's not what's happening here. But being able to start with like, what's the end goal? That's why the FDE model is so freaking important, because we are in these people's offices. Like, you just spent 2 days with a customer just working with them. Like, you got drinks with them, you got dinner with them. Like, you're really hearing their problems for like, what do they do on a day-to-day basis? What's the biggest pain in the ass for them? Or with Buck, like, what phone calls do you get that completely derail whatever work you had planned for the day? And then how can we help step in to make sure that that phone call doesn't happen? Or if the phone call does happen, you have an immediate answer that you can get back to it.
Yeah, I think that's a good distinction here, is that, you know, with the FDE model, like there was a paper that MIT put out about how whatever giant percentage of AI implementations failing. But then within that, it said, you know, over 60% of vertically focused ones are actually successful. But I think another element to that is a lot of people, with your digital transformation example, they try to boil the ocean when they come into new technology. And it's like, hey, yes, the goal is this, but in order to do that, we have to go through a bunch of different steps to get there. Whereas, you know, with our model, we can come in, we listen to their problems, we go back and forth with them, and we help them scope it down to something that not only, you know, can we do, but it's actually a good use of this technology to solve that problem, right? Whereas other people might come in and be like, yeah, we can give a language model all your production data and it'll know exactly what to do with it, which is not true. And so like that's, but it's, you know, that happens all the time,
Absolutely.
right? Like these are all tools in a tool belt to help you solve problems. They're not one size fits all, right? Like language models are different than machine learning models, and they do very different things. They're good at those things, but trying to use one for an application that probably should be using another is going to yield pretty bad results. And so I think that's another big thing like that really does help is, you know, we're consulting with them in a sense where it's like, hey, tell me your problems. Okay, based off of those problems, we think here's the 3 that we can, you know, tackle. And it makes sense to do this. I can't tell you how many times, and you guys have seen it now too, where it's like we come into a new client and they're like, yeah, we want it to optimize our artificial lift. It's like, well, that's a machine learning model, which is great, but that's not what we do on the language model side. It's a language model built for language, not for numbers. And so, and we're going to tell you that too. I think that's another important distinction, right? Like we're not just coming in and doing any job or any piece of work that clients are throwing at us. We're explicitly tackling the problems that are functions of language models.
We'll let Chuck tell
automations
yes.
and stuff. Yeah. Now, like, no promises when Chuck is involved. But, so one of the questions I've got for this is, what was one thing that you learned this year that surprised you?
Using Claude Code, how well it does. It really is a great partner and aid. And man, you can iterate so quickly. And it's been game changer for me, with that. And then using the tools we use like Langsmith and like seeing like all the steps and the tools that it chooses to go and do its tasks. That's been like really eye opening. Like, where is this? I wish I was using it, 8 months ago to build apps. But that's been huge. Like the tools available to us to be able to prototype, to get a POC that's really, really working and looks really good for a good customer experience, and then push that to the enterprise team to get it deployed. Like, man, it's been a game changer. The tools that we have and the team that we have that have supplied us with that tool, the tools and the architecture, has been like really eye opening.
I was going to say, it's cool because it's not only just the tooling that we're actively using, but then the other half of our team is developing tooling for that tooling to make it easier to get things to prod. And so like it's super exciting. And I completely agree with you. Like the LLM thing, especially on the coding side, has completely changed the way that anybody can do anything.
We're in a unique position to have guardrails and expertise put in place to make that work. Like,
Well,
anybody,
we're empowered to do it as well.
Yeah.
That's another big one that you and I have talked about.
Anyone can go get a license for Claude Code, but you can only get so far. Like if you were the SME of a specific field, subject matter, etc., then you can really do cool shit with it. If you're just kind of like poking around, like you can make a application to remind you to feed your dog or something, but how are you going to get that on the App Store? How are you going to make sure that that's secure? It can be deployed. Like there is such a heavy lift involved in going from like where we are now to like enterprise level application. And I think that is the most impressive part of what you just said, is like how we're able to do really cool, quick, scrappy stuff, get the customer to be like, oh my gosh, that is like you perfectly built what I described to you, which is my problem. Yes, let's do a POC. Let's see how we can get this working, get their validation. And then we work with amazing developers that are, I mean, not even 10x, like 100x engineers, some of the people we have on the team, and then can get that up and running for them in like a matter of weeks compared to, I mean, if we were to try to do this 5 years ago, we're talking, I mean, months worth of building and revisions, et cetera. Going back to your question, John, I think for me, one of the things that caught me off guard was on the regulatory piece. Like being a geophysicist, it's all about, okay, like how are you imaging what's going on underneath the earth? What are the methods, techniques to make that happen? What are the shortcomings of the physics? Even doing surveying, you're just focused on how do you get image out of the ground. I had zero awareness or visibility to all of the permitting that, and let's just focus on the Texas Railroad Commission, that is required to get product out of the ground and transport it. That alone, there are so many different regulatory processes, documents required for that. And I had a very overly simplified idea of what that looked like, and actually sitting down with the customer and understanding, like, man, these guys spend like 1,200 hours a year working on shit like this. That's crazy.
Mm-hmm.
Like, do you want to be doing that?
The answer is almost always no.
The answer is like, absolutely not. Like that's crazy to me though. So, I think that that's helped me very much empathize with the customer, because me coming in with, like I'm very green in that regard. Like that's brand new to me, but I can be like, wow, man, like I would want to do that. Like, let's build something else to fix this. That's messed up. But I would say that by far is like the biggest surprise and like eye-opening thing for me this year.
Yeah. So I've got two, but the first one is kind of the interest, not only the interest, but also the potential use cases for service companies. Coming from the services side, like you're the last one, you're at the bottom of the totem pole, where you're constantly being demanded for more technology, more innovation, but then also on the same side of the coin being demanded to lower your costs in most situations. And so I'm really excited about just the interest that we've already gotten from our first kind of couple service companies. And I'm excited about kind of what's coming from that perspective. But it was one of those that I didn't even like. Some of the things obviously were pretty interesting, but like the JSA project that we worked on, like that's really, really cool. Because, as coming from the field, it's one of those things that like safety is always talked about, safety is always there, but like being able to contextualize, the JSA to the location, to the job type, pulling in the actual, incidents from either those job types or that area or both, and instead of it saying beware of slips, trips, and falls, it's like so-and-so got crushed last week and died because tubing fell on him. It's like that makes you think a lot differently than just the same 5 things on the same JSA that you sign on every single day that you don't ever read. So I'm super bullish on some of that stuff, and I'm excited. The learning there is the excitement and the interest from the industry for things like that. It's always nice to see everyone not just talking about safety, but actually doing stuff to make it better. The other one, I think that's really interesting is just the lack of controls around a lot of the out of the box tools that we've experienced, whether directly or with our clients. We've had some clients that have done kind of side by side comparisons with, some of the co-pilots and the GPTs of the world out there. And, they might be really good directly out of the box on your first couple questions. But once you start getting deep into it and you start loading it with all of your data, it starts getting lost. And then the ultimate problem there is you have no way of fixing it, right? So it's just like, oh, just dump your stuff here and then we'll process it and then you can search against it. It's like, okay, well, what do I do when the search isn't right? And there's not really an answer, at least with the tools that we've seen today. And so that's why we chose our architecture. It feels good to learn that, the decisions we made around the technology and how we architect it and all of that are valid, right? Like we have all of the knobs to tweak on the back end, all the way down to the prompt, the temperature, the parameters, the top K, how we retrieve it from the index or the database. We have complete transparency into every single step it takes and how it got there. And so I think that's another big thing that, most people don't think about because they just see the marketing material or, the GPT ad or dev days or whatever, and it looks like magic. And so they think out of the box, everything is magic. And that's kind of what they want you to think ultimately, but, but that's not the reality of the situation when you're trying to do these things at enterprise scale on enterprise data. And so, learning at how kind of not necessarily behind, but like just the lack of transparency and control that you have with some of these out of the box tools was really an interesting one for me. So, kind of wrapping this up, I'm going to ask you two more questions. The next one's going to be what are you most excited about either at the end of this year or coming next year? And then the last one is bold prediction for the future, what the future of energy looks like when they're enabled with AI tooling. So whichever one of you wants to jump on that first one about what you're most excited for next year.
Yeah, I'll go first. For sure, production ops. Production ops, they don't have all the CapEx like the D&C teams do. And so their budget's tight. And so being able to optimize as much as we can. So we have a lot of workflows that we're going to be automating on that side. The root cause analysis one is pretty exciting. Just to be able to search more data, to compare more data, to get, some sort of better analysis and to validate, hey, is the way we were doing them before over, maybe, 10 wells that we can consume as humans or 50 wells of data, like, is it actually valid? Like, were we right on those causes? Also, let's add more inputs to it. Let's add more data to it and see what happens. So I'm super excited to see those outcomes.
Yeah, that's actually another learning I'm going to throw in as icing on that cake. But just something that I had never thought through, but I think one of our clients mentioned this, but they were like, if we can automate the generation of this document, this JSA, this procedure, that means we can actually include more information in that than if we were to allow a person to do it because it's automated. And so it's like something I never thought about, but makes a ton of sense, especially given the nature of the complexity of our operations, where it's like, hey, this should have a wellbore schematic in it or a survey in it, but it doesn't today. That's just because it's a pain in the ass to get it in there. Well, now we can. And so I think that's another interesting, just cherry on top. But what do you got, Nick?
I mean, it's mapping. Like that is, that's my background. That's meat and potatoes of what I enjoy, what I'm good at. And that was one of the things that when Colin was initially interviewing me, it was like, we got to do mapping stuff, and which he completely agreed with. This industry is so visual, whether it's, trying to figure out where you're going to drill, looking at different leases, right-of-way access, pipeline laydown, et cetera. There are not good enough solutions out there right now. There are okay solutions.
Well, it's like the good ones live in one place, and then the rest of the data for that lives in 5 other places.
Yep.
And yeah.
Well, and I think that those mapping solutions, which will remain nameless, are good at being able to visualize data, but they don't understand the actual workflows being done. And there might be templates that you could throw in of like, oh, it's like a data collection template or a house viewer template for like high consequence pipelines and like where they fall within residential areas, but they're not really being built by people in industry. And I don't think that those larger companies have the bandwidth or capacity to be able to really sit down and get into the nitty gritty. So just spending a little bit of time with customers and getting the initial, the regulatory stuff, the financial and accounting piece, getting that as a way to kind of like whet their beaks and whet their appetite a little bit has allowed us to start to fold in and say, okay, what could we do with mapping tooling and like a mapping application that resides within the Collide search instance? There's lots of really incredible stuff that I'm working on that I can't show right now. But I think this time by next year, that will be one of the biggest requested features for people to visualize their data, ask questions against it in a very high fidelity and secure environment.
Yeah. Also, you're not getting GIS grade maps when you ask ChatGPT or Claude to do any kind of mapping for you with the out of the box tools.
No.
If you've seen any of those memes, they're pretty incredible.
Well, I mean, because that's not what general consumers need, right? You're not going to go into Grok and be like, oh, hey, plan out a date with my wife and plot it in a map. Like it's not tuned to do that. And I don't think there ever will be a regular consumer, unless you're like a super GIS geek. But again, they're not going to spend time and resources building that kind of stuff out. That I think is going to be a big differentiator from us and like other, solutions that tried to do what we're doing. It's going to completely set us apart from anybody else.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think our industry is unique in the fact that mapping is almost like a default visualization for pretty much most things that you're doing. It ultimately ties back to some asset on a map. And so, yeah, I'm super excited about the stuff you've done and how that's going to tie into both, giving better answers to the language model, but also giving more context to it. Mapping is going to snowball into what I'm excited about, which is plotting. We haven't, it's going to be really interesting to see how we do all these things, but I've said it and you'll hear me probably say it 100 more times, but I do think the traditional world of like dashboarding is coming to an end, if not already dead. Where it's like now we can ask a language model to give me a, plot on my production data in a very specific way. I can generate a plot locally, customize it exactly how I want. And then, every user has the ability to do that instantly. Right. And so, I think that's really exciting. I'm super excited about that. And then tying that into the mapping feature is also going to be really, really cool. I'm also excited about, kind of rounding out our regulatory suite of workflows and automations. I think, we have more and more interest every day from different people in different states. And so I think by this time next year, we'll probably have most of the ones for Texas done, and a good chance for some of the other states as well. And so I'm super excited about that. Lastly, I'm really excited about MCP and tool calling. We've made a bunch of architectural changes that'll be rolling out here in the next couple of months, that fundamentally change and improve the way that we do things and the capabilities that the user has on their end. And so, not just for our clients, but also even for development, there's going to be this opportunity in the future where we finally have something that people can use to develop additional stuff on for Collide. And I'm the most bullish about that because, we've always been about community. We are still very much so about community. And I'm really excited to see what the community is able to build once we start releasing things, some of these tooling, things like that. So, well, cool guys, this has been awesome. Last question. What's your big, bold prediction for AI 5 years from now? We'll pick 5 years and let's go 3 years. That's a little more tangible.
We say it all the time, and I'm going to take it from Colin, and even Elon said it on Joe Rogan's podcast. Like everything that we have now, as far as these software platforms where data has to go there and sit there, and then you have to go and log in. That's all middleware. That's all going to go away. Everything is going to go straight into the customer's database, and then Collide's going to be able to go and get that data, do stuff with it, deliver it to you. I think The same thing with phones, all these apps, that's going to go away. It's just going to be, you just talk to your phone or whatever device, Neuralink, I think we're throwing around. So I think that's the future. And I think it's coming pretty quick. I really do.
My bold prediction is not so much on the software side, but I think that we're going to see hardware rapidly change too in the next couple of years, right? We're talking a lot about, there's new models that come out every single day. You've got Nano Banana Pro that makes crazy images. Every day there's a new model that's coming out, but hardware takes a lot longer to refresh because there's a physical component to it. But I think that we're going to see a complete step change in what computers look like, what phones look like, what a car looks like in the next 3 years, where we're going to be living in a society where like the future actually does look and feel like the future. Which that's not a Nick Smart quote. That's an Elon thing. So I can't take any credit for that. But I definitely do see that being very real. So that's my prediction.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think mine are, we'll see the first $1 billion oil company run by less than 100 people. And I think I completely agree with both of you in the fact that the way that we use technology is going to be very different. I think, I guess I'll say another bold prediction. I think keyboards are probably pretty close to being dead. I think we were literally just on Amazon looking at different headsets and stuff for us to use in the office so that we can talk to our computers more efficiently. But the implementation of tools like WhisperFlow and the voice to text, Colin posted a picture. He's like a 70 word per minute typer. And on WhisperFlow, he's like close to 200. And so it's like just that alone. It's like, oh, well, that, like, how do you argue against that? Right. And then, at some point, someone will have an MCP for operating systems. Right. And so you'll be able to completely control your phone or your computer just with voice. And so that is going to be wild because that also then fundamentally changes what the apps look like, how you interface with apps. Do you need a phone?
That's a great question too. That's a great statement too, because I was thinking about this the other day. If you're trying to change a setting on, and your parent or grandparents, like, how do I change the brightness on my, that is, you have to sit down, walk through that process with them.
Siri, change my brightness, increase my brightness. Like you can do it on Alexa. But it hasn't caught up. But I've absolutely whoever can figure that out, Microsoft or Apple, first is going to have a ridiculous boom. Because then why do I need a screen on my, I never have to take my phone out of my pocket. But then that also fundamentally changes how we work, both in the office and the field. I think for the better in the field, right? You have less distractions. You can have something guiding you along the way. I'm really excited about it.
When are we gonna get our first humanoid in?
I really want one of those Tesla bots. Honestly, that would be kind of cool to have around the office.
That'd be pretty sweet.
To what? plug in. Give me a coffee, I guess.
Restock her drinks.
Yeah.
Replace Misty's tasks.
The PE exam.
Yeah.
Let me add to that last question. My take. I think there's gonna be winners and losers the same way there are today and in the past. People still use Google and click the first SEO the advertised link and don't even know to scroll down a little bit. People are not, I'm not talking about old people, I'm talking about anyone. They're still doing that. So how the hell are people going to adapt to using GPT and AI 3 years from now? I still think people are going to suck at using it basically. I'm tired of hearing people be like, ChatGPT is awful and it's inaccurate. It's Kyle, people just do not know how to use these tools to help their lives. And I think there's going to be these losers who are not doing it right. And meanwhile, we are going to be just streamlining and using all these tools the best way possible. And they're going to laugh at us being like, oh my God, they're whispering into their microphones. And it's okay, sorry, I'm saving triple time and you're still clicking Amazon links through a Google search.
You're clicking your buttons on your laptop over there.
But you were saying, raise my brightness on my phone, yada, yada. Are we going to be able to articulate this next step for these older generations and people who don't want to adapt, or are we going to go do the same process again?
Well, I think the thing that I've seen with technology is that, we see it with kind of our generation, right? Is it's new technology came about, whether that was the CD, the cassette, or the home computer. And it's like, you know, I know how to defrag a hard drive because I used to have to do that because that was part of having a computer that ran semi well back in 2000. No one has defragged a hard drive in like a decade because they have just they've engineered it out, right? Or it runs in the background quietly. And so like that's part of the technology life cycle, is that the complexity of the technology might go up in the long run, but the user experience gets better because they're automating away the things that the users aren't good at. And so, and you've seen that with GPTs already, right? Like the prompt engineering and the prompt improvement behind the scenes has gotten a lot better. They're pulling in context and your history and your memory and stuff to further enhance the accuracy and stuff like that. But I think it'll be the same thing. There's going to be this like however many years of friction for the masses, and then there will be a new improvement or a new thing that dramatically increases the amount of people that can confidently use it or use it as well as we can these days.
Well, I mean, and if you look at the technology adoption curve, right, it's typically you've got like the early adopters, the people that are the beta testers, and they're like, I don't care if it breaks, like I want the latest and greatest. And then you've got, you know, like majority of people, like, oh, like most people use Google search, and then laggards that are like, I'm still going to go to a library to look up information.
Asking Jeeves, baby.
Yeah, exactly. But I think because of how quickly technology has accelerated, I feel like there's this elongation between like it's like there's a second hump to that bell curve now, where you have people that are like still bleeding edge. And I feel like that is where most of us, like from a personality perspective, fall. But I think that the more that we work with our customers and the more that we can show them like the art of what's possible, I really think that traditional bell curve of adoption, I think it's got a little hump at the very beginning where people are like, oh shit. And then there's going to be a chasm between people that are not using AI at all and then people that are using AI and like feel comfortable with these types of systems. So I have 2 younger siblings. It's a 7-year age gap between me and my youngest brother. And that's something that I talk with them all about, is like all the time, is like, y'all need to be looking into and actively using these tools on a regular basis. That's something I'm gonna be doing over like our Christmas vacation, is sitting down with them and like, look at what you can build in a weekend if you really put your mind to it. So I completely agree with the sentiment y'all are saying of, you know, technology's evolving really quickly. But that's also the best part of our jobs, is being able to show people and have those like, oh shit moments. You know, the amount of times we've been able to like thoroughly blow people's minds with stuff that we're able to articulate is just phenomenal.
Yeah. Now this has been great. One tiny tidbit to end on that I also forgot to add to the upcoming things that I'm excited about. Fine-tuned models coming at some point next year. I'm super excited about that. So shout out to Jasmia, our ML expert. We're super excited to have you on board. And I'm incredibly excited to see how much better some of these fine-tuned models make, and also to pass that test that we're talking about. So we'll see. But guys, thanks again, everybody. Appreciate y'all watching, and we will see y'all next time. Thanks.